Hokely dokely, today's episode is about boomers and how they're gonna start selling all their houses and how that's gonna go ahead and affect you. Maybe you are a boomer and this is gonna go ahead and affect you. Maybe you're a millennial, maybe you're Generation X, maybe you're Gen Z. We're gonna go ahead and tell you how all of these houses they're gonna sell will affect you in the future, what it could do to your homes, and if you're about the age of 55, you might be able to pick up some really good deals in the next 5 years. Go ahead and subscribe right here if you want to know more about the boomers, or if you're a millennial or Generation X or whatever. Go ahead and hit that bell button and like the video right here. All right, we're gonna get into it. So this is kind of one of those waves that's been building for a number of years now. I first kind of heard about this, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And just last year, towards the end of the year, it started becoming big news on what could crash the housing market. Well, it turns out a lot of stuff happened since December of 2019, and there's a lot more stuff now that could crash the housing market. But what we'll see here, and we'll go into the Case-Shiller Housing Bubble Index momentarily, but boomers own 21 million homes that they're going to be selling in the next 10 years or 15 years as attrition. Them dying, that would be attrition, will cause many to be sold, but then also downsizing. They're kind of tired of having their giant mansions that they built in Florida, now that it's just one or two of them living there, and they want to go closer to family maybe, or get a smaller place that's less expensive to take care of. So they're going to go ahead and put all those on the market and crash their whole neighborhood. All right, we're going to the housing bubble indicator right now. This is our favorite, the Case-Shiller Housing Bubble Index. So right here you can see we were in a bubble back in 2006, 2008, 2009. So yeah, that went ahead and happened. Now prices have come up here, and if they do this, like we've talked about is possible in other videos, this is about, I don't know, 6 years out. Let's just put 6 years. Sorry about my writing there. We're just marking 6 years right here. So 6 years out, if this is what happens, part of the reason is going to be boomers selling all of their homes. All right, we'll go to an article now that explains some of this. And here it is. This one came with a nice chart. The title of this article is, "Okay, Boomer, who's gonna buy your 21 million houses?" Because guess what? Millennials cannot live in a deed-restricted 55-plus neighborhood in Florida, nor do they want to. Millennials, as this article says, and this next one we'll look at, are interested in smaller homes. Heck, they started that whole tiny house trend, so they're not buying all these giant boomer houses that were built and are now millions of dollars, or they're trying to sell for millions of dollars, or at higher price points. Millennials, Gen Z, and Generation X in most cases can't afford them, nor do they want them. Who the heck as a millennial wants to live in the middle of the desert in Arizona in some retirement community? I'll tell you how many. None. That's how many. Okay, so anyway, this chart says 21 million homes over the next 2 decades will be vacated by boomers. So by vacated, they mean attrition, as well as selling to downsize. What their prediction is here is that in these decades, they're going to go ahead and try to sell, like between 2017 and 2027, 8.5 or 9 million homes, which is an entire more than 1 year's worth of house sales just in this generation, trying to get rid of their overpriced Florida, Arizona, and Carolina properties. That's where they went to retire. They're in Florida, they're in Arizona, and they're in the Carolinas. And then between 2027 and 2037, there will be additional attrition and additional houses sold up to almost 12 million in the decade. That's more than 1 million per year. So in the U.S., we sell between 6 million and 7 million houses, depending on the hotness of the market. Now it's really hot. There's just no inventory, so a lot of people can't even buy a house if they want to. But what that means is like right here in this 2017 to 2027 decade, 1 million houses roughly almost per year will come on the market. So 6 million per year, that's like a lot. That means that's 16.6% of the houses coming on the market that year will be estates of boomers that have either tristed, I think is the right word, or are trying to downsize and or sell their property. Sure, some people will want to move there, but you're going to have a glut of houses from this generation coming on the market that a lot of people don't want. And our next article from Business Insider is titled Millennials Don't Want to Buy Baby Boomers Sprawling Multi-Bedroom Homes, and it's creating a major problem in the real estate market. This was December 2019. So we have a major problem with that, but then we also have the global sickness causing a major problem, a severe global recession and or soon-to-be depression, as we've said before on this channel. That is also going to affect the housing market. So what does all of this mean? If you have a home in Florida and boomers are looking to downsize, well, you're going to have a whole bunch of homes in these neighborhoods. There are these things called deed restricted neighborhoods in a lot of these states where you have to be 55 plus to actually move there. So that population that can move in is very limited. You have some, I don't know, Generation X that are hitting that age now. Millennials certainly aren't, and Gen Z is a long way away. So anyway, the top end of Generation X could possibly buy these houses, but do they want them? Who in Generation X, and link in the comments or comment, wants to actually live in the desert in Arizona or live in a 55 plus community in Florida with a house that was, a lot of them are manufactured homes. A lot of them aren't really solid homes. So, you're limited on your actual selection there. And it's going to create some big problems, like this title says, major problem in the real estate market. So we'll go back to our housing bubble indicator, and here it is. So if this here happens right here, what's going to end up happening? You're going to have a ton of boomer houses. We'll just draw a little house, a whole bunch of these bad boys that nobody wants coming on the market. And nobody's going to want to buy them. So in Florida, Arizona, and the Carolinas, there could be a ton of neighborhoods with a glut of houses for sale. Let's say, in the average boomer neighborhood, there are 150 houses within this particular deed-restricted area. So nobody can move in if they're under 55. Uh-oh. So let me guess, it's in a good school system, but I'm 45 with 3 kids, and I can't buy a house in there. Well, who's going to buy it then? Because there really isn't anybody to replace all these boomers. They're not quite there yet on the 55 plus age. So they have to change the 55 plus requirement, which they probably won't, because I don't know if you realize this, but it's a psychological fact, I believe. And I'm not a psychologist, so don't listen to me on this one, but older people tend to not want to change their mind, and they're running these HOAs in these 55 plus neighborhoods. So if they're all trying to sell their house, you got the HOA committee that doesn't want to sell their homes, and they're just going to say, no, we're not lowering the age requirement for this neighborhood. There you go. So what that means is if there is a downturn in the housing market and all these boomers start putting all their little houses all on the market, it's going to drive prices in these areas down. Lower, lower, and lower. And there's really nothing the government can do about it because they're not distressed properties. These properties might have a mortgage on them, but they're just simply selling them because they want to get rid of them. They're trying to just move somewhere smaller and or through attrition, like I said before, are no longer in the home, if you know what I mean. So you have all of these houses hit the market, and that's what they're talking about in that article. Millennials and everybody else don't want those houses because they're not old enough. There's so many more baby boomers that are that age than people there to replace them. So they're not going to have anybody standing in line to buy their home, and they're not in distress or not foreclosed. So there's absolutely nothing the government can do about it. All right, back to our slides. To circle back, boomers own 21 million homes. There's going to be some attrition, i.e. boomers passing away, and boomers downsizing. So they're mainly concentrated with these in Florida, Arizona, and the Carolinas, all of which have seen huge increases in houses that are restricted on that. A lot of areas aren't, where boomers have purchased homes. But what you'll see overall in these markets, Florida, Arizona, North Carolina, South Carolina, is that when these houses come on the market, it's going to be a huge glut of homes that will push property prices down. Number one, this will happen in deed-restricted neighborhoods. So these boomers that might have paid $250,000 for their house, I don't know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago in 2000, maybe they built it brand new and it was $250,000. Well, they're going to have literally everybody around them trying to sell at the same time with nobody buying. So there's a good chance that $250,000, $500,000, $750,000, or $1 million, however much they spent on this house, they're not going to be able to recoup any of it because everybody's selling in their deed-restricted neighborhood. The other thing this means is that other neighborhoods, other well-off neighborhoods where the population is generally older, i.e. boomers, will go ahead and do the same thing. There'll be non-distressed homes that they try to sell onto the market, and it will cause a glut of houses coming on that will lower overall prices for Millennials, Gen Z, and Gen X. Hey, great, thank you. So there you go. That's the effect it'll have. That's how it will affect you depending what generation you're in. If you're a boomer, you're going to go ahead and try to sell your house that every other boomer around you is also trying to sell, and you're going to get less out of it. What that means is if you are getting older, you'll want to go ahead and place your home on the market as soon as you can to get out of it. This isn't investment or financial advice. I'm not your realtor, I'm not your broker, and I'm not your financial advisor. I'm a YouTuber talking about boomers on a blackboard. Think about that, and don't listen to me. Don't listen to anything I say. If you're Gen X, you may be moving into one of these homes if it's something that you want to do to retire to Florida or retire to Arizona. I don't know too many Gen X people that actually want to retire to Arizona. A lot of people move there. It's nice. I personally wouldn't want to live in the desert. But it's a decision that's up to you. And if you're Gen Z or a millennial, the simple fact of those generations is that they live in a different environment. They like smaller things in general. Some of us millennials like bigger things. Bigger houses. Bigger is not always better, they say. We like tiny houses. We invented tiny houses. That's all we buy because that's all we could afford. And well, let me see what else. They care about, I don't know, the environment and having a lower carbon impact and all that stuff. So they try to live in smaller houses driving their Priuses. Or Teslas. Teslas are cool. Priuses aren't. Sorry if you have a Prius. Okay, anyway, so that's the effect it'll have on you. Another video will show up right here. Go ahead and subscribe here. Sorry if this was offensive to anybody. Don't come here to not offend people. I come here to kind of give the truth in a way that will get your attention. All right, y'all have a good day out there.